In terms of tackling security, there is lack of political will.
Beyond the headlines,
who are the sponsors of insecurity in this country?
from breaking news to everyday conversations, this is where Nigeria's conversations begin. We track the issues shaping Nigeria and the world today. The world is talking, and we're listening. This is Trends on LJE News.
Hello and welcome to another edition of Trends on LJE News, where we bring you the latest and developing stories in Nigeria and of course across the globe. My name is Omotola Adeleke. And of course I have the ladies here in the studio, and of course they are ladies, so it's not bad if I wish you International Women's Day. Yesterday was International Women's Day, but the celebration still goes on. Esther, how was yesterday?
It went well. Service, my day, restful.
Oh, you attended church, and there was
Yes.
like an International Women's Day
Yeah.
celebration for you guys.
Yes, it went well.
Oh, how was it?
I liked the idea. I mean, it was all about women. So I
Okay.
felt special.
The sermon, everything
Yeah.
was all about women.
Yes.
Okay, all right, that's a good one. Judith, you look serious. No one gave you anything during the whole celebration.
Actually,
Not even biscuits.
I got things. I got gifts.
You got gifts.
Yes.
Okay, that's nice. That's nice. You're welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Don't forget you can be a part of our growing online community by hitting that follow, like, share, and subscribe button right now on all social media platforms at LJE News. Let's quickly run through our headlines for this edition of Trends. Petrol price jumps to 1,082 naira in Abuja as NNPCL records second hike in 24 hours. Fuel price hike sparks fresh anger as NNPCL raises petrol to 967 naira per litre. REA boss explains mini-grid strategy to tackle Nigerians' power shortages. Opposition parties consider consensus candidate for 2027 presidential election. And also IGP appoints Anthony Placid as new police spokesperson. Economic hardship pushes Abuja resident into Kabu taxi business. And on to the lead story. Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited and other filling stations have raised the pump price of premium motor spirit PMS for the second time in less than 24 hours following a gantry price increase by Dangote Refinery. In Abuja, NNPCL outlets adjusted the price from 967 naira to 1,802 naira per litre, an increase of 115 naira earlier. The price had moved from 960 naira to 967 naira. The latest adjustment means petrol prices at NNPCL stations had risen by 207 naira within a week. Many Nigerians have voiced frustration following another increase in petrol prices by the Nigerian National Petrol Company Limited. Report indicates that the state-owned oil firm raised the pump price of premium motor spirit PMS for the second time within 4 days. On Saturday, the price was adjusted from 960 naira to 967 naira per litre, representing a 7 naira increase. The development has intensified public concerns over the rising cost of living, as transportation fares and commodity prices are expected to climb further. Many citizens say the repeated adjustments are placing additional pressure on households already struggling with economic hardship. Esther, remember we talked about this last week. In fact, last week there was an increase of up to like 100 naira or so, in the gantry price, talking about Dangote Refinery. And today we have an extra increase again. Now this all started when Dangote Refinery increased his gantry price, and now NNPCL has also increased theirs. Now imagine buying fuel for over 1,000 naira. In fact, who should be blamed? In this consistent increase in fuel prices, who do we point fingers at? Is it the government? Is it Dangote Refinery at this point? They're also blaming the Iran-US-Israel war. In this case, we also have the global oil price now over $100 per barrel. So What are your thoughts on all this?
The question on who should be blamed, the blame reaches out to everybody. First of all, the government. We are suffering from a deregulated price system. The prices are not regulated. Anybody can come about and inflict prices on whatever they tend to do. If the government bring about price regulation, it will definitely affect Dangote because he's a private business owner. Now, if they start by regulating these prices, Dangote would have to understand that regardless of, the fact that maybe they're importing or making it locally, there is a price regulation to these things. Because either way, it affects both the government and Nigerians. Everybody uses fuel. I mean, they're the ones that use convoys of over 20 cars. It might not affect them because they have, the capacity. But what about normal Nigerians? We have many things to do with fuel. We use it for businesses, use it for in fact, it even affects the price of goods because most of these people, they go to, it influences transportation and all of that. So if it's about the question of who is to be blamed, the government is the major blame here because they don't have a major price regulation on all of this.
All right, Judith, I just discovered recently while I was doing my research on all this, I just discovered that Dangote refinery actually imports more of the fuel. I'm telling you, despite the fact that we all believe it's supposed to be a it's supposed to be local production of this product. They have, I think they have about 18 million barrel per day being imported. About 18 million.
18 million.
You understand? Now, if you want to compare, they have like 20 million barrel per day. Of which they actually get to supply, and about 18 million is being imported. I thought we've left this phase. I thought we've left the aspect of importing fuel, and the Dangote refinery being on board right now should help in that case, and so we can have a local way of producing our own petrol and other petroleum products. What are your thoughts?
Well, if he cannot assess the fuel locally, it only makes sense to import it because, like Esther said, many people in Nigeria uses fuel. Hospitals, businesses. I mean, even this studio, we need fuel sometimes to run the studio. So, if it only makes sense to import, if the ones that are available locally are not enough to serve Nigerians, and honestly, I feel like.
But why shouldn't the ones we have not be enough? As a matter of fact, we are an oil-producing country.
Exactly, but
we have a refinery that should refine. In fact, that's where the word refinery came from, right? We have a refinery that should refine our petroleum products and give us some of this other product, diesel, petrol, and the rest of them. So, what's the use, if I'm to put it that way, of Dangote refinery if we are still importing, more of our fuel?
I mean, we cannot see that the refineries are not working. The one we have is not working. So we cannot wait for them. We cannot keep waiting for them to start before we get on with our daily lives. Because if we say, oh, let's wait until this thing, the people in charge don't even seem to be doing anything about it. So if we keep waiting for them, that means systems would fail. Many systems that are already failing would even continue to fail more because hospitals need fuel most times to power their machines to keep people alive and all of that thing. So if we keep waiting for these people, we'll see that things will just continue to get worse than they are already.
Why I'm asking this question is because, before now, we were depending more on imported fuel. The fact that most of our refineries are moribund and they're non-functional, so we were depending on imported fuel. In fact, we said this last week that imported fuel is not even cheaper than Dangote refinery. So what is the core function of the Dangote refinery if we can't even really benefit from, Dangote refinery? If imported fuel is cheaper, if Dangote refinery still gets to import its fuel, and before you know it, prices are skyrocketing immediately after increases its gantry price and all. So why do we even need a Dangote refinery if this is where the case is right now?
I'm just hearing from you now that he actually still imports most of the fuel. But that, like I said last week, the importation of this fuel, the crude oil, it's sold in dollar. So the fact that the dollar rate is going up, it will definitely go up for the importation of the fuel, right? But then coming to the question of why we still need the Dangote refinery, yes, he imports some of the fuel, but then there are still some locally produced. So in the absence of the fuel he's being imported, he can actually create some or refine some that we already have here in Nigeria. And if you ask me, then again, the government should actually bring back the fuel subsidy, because it, as it is right now, the fuel keeps going on and up, keeps going up and down, and Nigerians are suffering because it's more like it affects every aspect of our lives, our feeding, our health, everything. It's basically going around fuel in Nigeria.
All right, you don't think if fuel subsidy is brought back, it might, worsen the situation? Do you think things will actually change if it's brought back at this stage?
We should actually give it a try.
Okay. Let's move on to the next story quickly. The managing director of the Rural Electrification Agency, Abba Aliu, says the federal government is deploying mini grids to cushion the impact of frequent blackouts and declining electricity supply across Nigeria. In a recent interview, Aliu explained that the initiative allows communities to bypass weaknesses in the national grid by generating independent power locally. He noted that mini grids are being installed in isolated communities with dedicated distribution networks and full metering systems. According to him, the agency has incorporated lessons from past grid failures, ensuring each installation includes monitoring technology. In peri-urban areas, the agency also collaborates with electricity distribution companies to provide solar power during the day, while the discos supply electricity at night through service level agreement. Judith, don't you think Nigeria should have surpassed this issue of electricity? You know why I said this? We have other countries, West African countries, that are not, in quotes, giants of Africa. Nigeria is the giant of Africa. We have Benin Republic with almost steady power supply. We have our neighboring country, Ghana, Niger Republic, and some other West African countries who actually enjoy electricity. Why is Nigeria still at this stage, of power shutdown? In fact, there was a time we've been promised a couple of times. In fact, the president had promised the power sector was going to improve. The Minister of Power, Adelabu, in fact, promised last year, December, that the era of grid shutdown was over. But we still had about 4 or 5 grid shutdowns only in January. So where are we at this point?
It's very sad, actually, that Nigeria, a country as developed as we are still having issues like this, issues of the grid going off, being promised this, and then not actually getting to see the things that they promised. I mean, there are when you go on social media, on Twitter sometimes, we see other African countries dragging us. They throw Nigerians with this issue of electricity. And I really don't know what the problem is, because these people, there are major cities in this country that still complain. I mean, there is Enugu, there is Benin, there is Asaba. These people, they are complaining every time. There is no lights. There are areas that say they have as much as only 2 hours of light daily. In 24 hours, they have only 2 hours.
In fact, in Kuje, the last time I saw electricity was like a week ago. And in fact, within that week, the kind of electricity that I saw was just this blink. And it came and it went.
I think it's actually getting embarrassing at this point, because I mean, imagine even the government house needing solar when a country like this, what exactly is happening? I think we should really hold the government and the people in charge of the power in this country. We should really hold them accountable at this point and ask them what is happening. And I think I remember during the last campaign, the 2023 campaign, the president said if in his 4 years, if there is no light, that we should not vote for him in the second tenure. I think now is the time to actually ask him questions. Sir, this is okay. 4 years is coming to an end and we've still not seen the light. Is it right to now hold you accountable? Can we now hold you to what you said?
All right. Before now we had NEPA, government controlled. And to a certain extent, later it became privatized, not 100% privatized. Lots of, I remember, we had couple Nigerians, in fact, majority of Nigerians were happy because then we felt NEPA wasn't really functional. We didn't know it was even going to be better, than what we're having right now. Do you think the privatization was the problem? Privatization of the electricity or the power sector was the problem we had and the problem we are having right now?
Our governments always have issue with misplaced priorities. privatization of the power sector does not really have anything to do or change anything about the electricity problem we have in Nigeria. So whether it's public, government owned or private owned, the issue remains that we are having lack of electricity. That's meant to be our major concern. Bringing out mini grids, it actually makes sense. I mean, they are trying to consider local and rural areas, but that should not be our major focus, because when they bring about development like this, they tend to just realize that, oh, maybe we can just work with that for now, and they don't focus on the major issue of the national grid. They are trying to divert attention from what should actually be the major focus, which is the national grid that keeps going on and off, and bringing about mini grids. It's good that they're bringing about this development.
Talking about
not the major concern.
Still talking about mini grids and all that. Lots of times over the years when some of these initiatives are brought up, lack of maintenance most times, usually becomes the problem. So
yes.
How can we even trust that mini grid or this new initiative by the federal government would even be effective? How are we even sure that it will be maintained and sustained?
Let's hope that they actually realize that electricity is a major. It's more like, out of, if we're going to put it on a scale of 100, it's 90% what everybody needs. You need electricity to go about your business. You need electricity to power your workplace. You need electricity to even live. So I really think they should understand that not only bringing it out, but actually managing it, because it can work for God knows what, a week or two. I'm not saying they're bringing about fake grids, but they will not manage it. They will really not manage it. They'll just put it out there to be that this is what we've done, and then it collapses again, just like the national grid. They should actually understand that electricity is a major supply. And like GD said, the president during his campaign said electricity is one of the major concerns he's having, and that he's going to make sure that in his 4 years, we have steady electricity. But as if it even got worse by the day. I mean, even in where I stay, I know how many hours of light we get to have. Some days you don't even have for a whole day. They tell you that you have just 12 hours of light, and then the whole next day, you don't even have light at all. So what of those that don't have the capacity to get about generator? And even the generator we're talking about, the fuel has gone up. So if you're even using generator, you get the generator, problem. To buy fuel, problem. To have lights, problem. It's a lot.
All right, to buy generator, problem. To have light is also a problem. To get fuel is also a problem. In fact, being a band A or band B or band C might also even be a problem at this point in time. Because band A, we were connected to band A, I'm sorry to say, by force. And we were told that, we would have light. We're told that, things are going to come up on board. We're told that electricity was going to be constant, especially those who are connected to band A, because we pay more. Let me hear you.
The band A thing, I feel like it was just a means to extort people, actually, because when the people that were connected to it, you saw when at the end of the month you'd see your electricity bill racking up hundreds of thousands, and you're wondering, what exactly did I do with this? They'll tell you it's because you're in band A. I mean, you get more light, and then you are being charged like crazy prices. It just felt like an extortion scheme, actually. And actually, now even the band A people too are also complaining. So what really is the point?
All right. Quickly, we need to go on a short break, and when we return, we'll still get to have conversations on some other trends that are making the rounds. We will be right back.
Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
This is LJE Nigeria. We're calling you concerning the petition you filed about your brother.
Yes, sir.
We're pleased to inform you that your brother has been released. The detention was declared unlawful and all charges have been dropped.
He's out?
Yes, our legal team secured an emergency hearing, and the court was able to declare that the detention violated his fundamental human rights. So congratulations.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
When power is abused, when your voice is ignored, when justice feels delayed, you don't have to fight alone. If your rights are being violated, don't stay silent. Contact LJE Nigeria today. because justice delayed can destroy lives, but justice pursued can restore hope. Visit www.ljenigeria.org to report any violation today.
You're welcome back, and don't forget, this is still Trends on LJE News. My name still remains Omotola Adeleke. On some of these other stories, strong indications have emerged that several opposition parties may adopt a consensus approach in selecting their presidential candidates for the 2027 election following the release of a revised timetable by the Independent National Electoral Commission. Reports indicate that key stakeholders in the African Democratic Congress, People's Democratic Party, New Nigerian People's Party, and the Labour Party in Nigeria are weighing the option to reduce the financial strain of direct primaries. Party insiders say conducting nationwide primaries could signify deplete resources needed for the general election. The move follows provisions in the Electoral Act 2026, which allows only direct primaries or consensus for candidate selection. Under the timetable released by INEC, party primaries are scheduled to hold between April 23 and May 30, 2026, prompting parties to consider quicker, less costly consensus arrangement. Judith, what do you think about a consensus arrangement to pick leaders, especially in the political party level?
Well,
You think it's a better idea than having a primary?
it feels like people might be forced to go with the person
That
or
the
the
party
persons
just
that the
feel.
party decides. Because let's have an example. The ADC right now, they have Atiku, they have Peter Obi, and I think Rotimi Amechi contesting, vying for the presidential ticket. So how then do they decide? They get to decide who the party wants? Because some people in the party might want Peter Obi, some people in the party might want Atiku, and some other people might want Mr. Amechi. So going with a consensus would really make some people not be able to truly choose who they want. I still feel like the primaries is a better way, but then since they are saying there is a lack of time, they don't have enough time and
Enough money
and
and
enough
all.
money and all of that. They just have to go with it. They just have
The
to.
consensus arrangement.
It's not the best option. But since it's the only option they have, they just have to go with it.
No, but this come on, Atiku has money, no doubt. Someone like Peter Obi has money. In fact, the African Democratic Congress has wealthy individuals. We have other political parties too, NNPP, PDP, who also have people who are wealthy. Don't you think there can be a way where these people can come hand in hand to bring out funds to organize a direct primary? Because just like Judith had said, this might mean forcing leaders on people that they probably don't even want, because direct primaries is like everybody coming together in the political party to make sure they bring out a candidate that they feel is fit to become their candidate. Don't you think direct, primaries should just be the only option at this time rather than a consensus arrangement? That's not saying consensus arrangement is a bad idea. Let's hear you.
So I don't think the finance is the problem. I think the problem is maybe the time. The timing, because finance cannot I'm not saying they don't have the capacity, but I don't think finance is the major problem. If that's the major problem, they'll have to find their way around bringing out finance to actually go about this thing.
But still talking about it, right? Talking about the finance, we also have other political parties too that are probably not as financially capable, like let's say the PDP, the
and the
ADC, and the rest of them. How about those kind of how about those selected few political parties who might not be able to provide the funds for a direct primary?
Well, I think that's why the idea of the consensus came about. But for me, I still think the primaries I think is the best approach, because I really agree with you when you say you're more like forcing leaders, because then it's about how many people are going for this person, and all of the whole idea of the consensus doesn't really go well But since that's the option that's available to them at this time of time and finance, then it also works. Besides, it's not a bad idea if you ask
So
me.
you think the opposition party should just accept it? Because now some might want to ask, why? Why should they even involve that in the Electoral Act Amendment Act? Why should that even be stated there that it is either direct primary or consensus arrangement? Why skip the indirect primary? Why do you think that happened?
This recently
Because of course the
enacted-
indirect primary would have been a little bit more cheaper than the direct primary. The indirect primary has to just do with delegates who will just come and
internal
then
democracy and all of that. But then I don't know. But this recently signed law, it's really infringing on a lot of Nigerians' rights and opinions. So them signing this law right now and making it feel like they are imposing it on them is either direct primaries or consensus. There is no other way to go about it. And then the time is short. I don't know if they can appeal to the INEC to extend the time of the primaries, at least to give them more time to actually rally around and put themselves together on doing the whole direct primaries thing. But since it's the date is here already, so I think they'll just have to work with what's available.
All right. Of course, that's it for today's edition of Trends on LJE News. Yeah, we don't have much time anymore, but special thanks to Esther and Judy. Thank you very much for your contributions.
Always.
Thank you.
And to our viewers and listeners out there, make sure to follow, like, share, and subscribe at LJE News on all social media platforms to stay in the loop and join the conversation ahead of our next show. My name is Omotola Adeleke. See you next time. Bye for now.